Hello A-Ven-gers, it's me, Svenny-McG. Now if you've seen any social media posts, you may have seen that I recently just got a PlayStation 5. And in fact, I didn't just get a PlayStation 5, I got the PlayStation 5 Slim model. I did not have a PlayStation 5 prior to this. It's now been 1 week, and I want to show you some of the few things that I've encountered that I think might be helpful to you. Some of these, if you've been playing PlayStation 5 for a while, maybe you've already seen, some maybe not. And if you're going to get one or you've just recently picked one up, this might also be helpful for you as well. So let's get started. So the first thing with the Slim model, very first thing I found was inside the box were these little clear pieces. Essentially, these were made to go on the PlayStation Slim. If you can see here, there's actually little slots here and right there. See if you can see that through some of the glare. But the idea is you just place these guys in here like so. The idea is with them sitting in place, you can put your PlayStation 5 horizontally. But the idea is these will help support the console while it sits flat on the disk drive. As far as the supportive stand goes, that's it. This is all you get with the Slim, these little pieces of plastic. In fact, you have to buy a vertical stand if you want to keep the unit upright. They're not giving these things away either, because here in Canada, this was a $40 purchase. And that $40 purchase is a circle and a little set screw. Basically on the bottom of the unit here, you can see we're going to align it so that it goes, the triangle fits in place here. As it basically fits in place, we're just going to go ahead and twist that little set screw into place, tightening it up. And once it goes flush, it'll be underneath the mount. And now it'll sit right on the bottom, just like so. The nice thing is, at least this part of the stand is rubberized. So when sitting upright, we do have a solid, wider base, rubber base. Console shouldn't tip on us. Also neat that it does have the X, square, circle, and triangle on the bottom here. One unique thing I found when setting the console up was, as you can tell, this is the disk drive version. You're going to immediately be prompted to say, disk drive detected, let's connect to the internet and register it. What's going on there? As we know, the original PlayStation 5 came out with a disk drive unit and a disk-free all-digital unit. Keep in mind, those consoles all run the exact same. It's just whether or not it has a disk drive. That's it. That being said, the Slim models are actually designed so that it has 4 panels, these top 2 and these bottom 2. And underneath this one here, that's a secret of the Slim, is underneath the disk drive. And in fact, the disk drive can be removed and you can put a flat panel directly on here, and this will function as an all-digital. Conversely, if you buy a Slim all-digital, you can remove the flat panel, get yourself a disk drive afterwards, install it in this unit, and then get one of these shells, plug it back in place, and now you've turned your digital into a disk drive. So when you get prompted that the first time you boot this, that's what's going on. It's saying, let's register this disk drive to this console. Now, another thing that I can't recreate for you directly, because I have gone ahead and registered my console already, but on my phone, I had the PlayStation app. When I opened the app, I had it open at the time because I was going through to see if there's anything on here that I needed to review before starting up the PS5. When booting the PS5, I was then prompted with a screen that said, scan this QR code to log in with your phone on the console. When I scanned it, it actually popped up here in the app and said, hey, are you registering a PS5? I clicked yes, and it brought forward my profile right onto the console. So that was very quick, nice and easy way to get started with the unit. Notable difference here, if you're unaware, between the PS5 and the Slim is on the back, you have 2 USB 3.0s. These are the A size. You also have your LAN and your HDMI and your power, of course. This hasn't changed since the PS1. Shout out to them for keeping that simple on us. But the front of the console, you now have 2 USB-Cs instead, not A's. That makes a difference because this means we have a total of 2 for the entire unit. Why is that such an issue? Well, the issue is, if you are unaware, this plays PlayStation 4 games, and that includes PlayStation 4 PSVR, not the VR2 that came out for this. That's already basically been discontinued. as of this video, but that it plays PS4 games and VR. VR takes 2 ports, one for the camera, one for the headset. So now, guess what? You're already filled them all up. I have an external USB device hooked up to my PS4 that I'm going to talk about in a moment that I want to port over here. What am I going to do? You're probably going to want to go ahead and pick up something like this. I just got this today from Best Buy. This one's from Anker. This is a 4-in-1 USB hub. Make sure it's 3.0. Don't go for 2.0 or lesser because you're not going to get the super speeds required for data transfers. But in this case here, I'm going to plug this into one of them, as well as the camera and the headset. And then I'm going to put that disk drive directly into the back of the console here. So I shouldn't have any speed delays. And hopefully everything's going to be ready to go straight away, no issues. Before I go ahead and remove that external hard disk drive from the PS4, there's a couple things I'm going to want to do. So let's talk about that. So one awesome spec that you no doubt are well aware of is that the PlayStation 5 will play PS4 games. In fact, in many cases, there are not only going to be upgrades to those games, but you're going to be playing at least PS4 Pro levels, but PS5 sometimes even has optimized, or in fact, you can even get the game, but we'll talk about that in a second. That being said, because I have an external storage device, I want to actually disconnect this and hook it up to the PS5. Very simple to do, but one thing I want to do before migrating it over is keep a couple of the games on here. I have 0.5 terabyte on the console and I have 4 terabytes externally. So clearly with 2 terabytes full almost, I need to be selective about what I'm going to leave behind. Something like Fortnite can stay because the PS5 has its own optimized version of it. So I'm going to leave this actually on the console. And as mentioned, some games actually have a PS5 upgrade. So by inserting the disc for Spider-Man Miles Morales, I actually got the PS5 game downloaded. Again, we'll look at that in a second. But that doesn't need to come over as a PS4 port. Very few others I have. Most of my games are physical, but PlayStation, in their awesomeness, gave away a couple of games. So actually, Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition, Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, and Ratchet & Clank are all games that I actually have on this console digitally. And while most of those will actually give you a PS5 upgrade or improvement, again, because they're digital downloads, I don't need to bring them over. And in fact, it'd be nice to keep them on the PS4 should I want to boot it up outside of the PS5 and be able to play them there. Circling back around to Fortnite, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hit the options button and I'm going to go here to move to system storage. Now I'm going to start selecting a couple of the games that I want to keep. What's neat is it's showing me right off the bat, the movable size allowed is 288 gigs. So I know basically I can't exceed that. Now remember, the games that I said were digital downloads, such as Ratchet & Clank, even if I do move the whole physical HDD over to the PS5, I can simply log on the PS4 and re-download them there. Or move them to the console here and then download them again on the PS5. Because again, those are digital purchases. I can recover them right from the PlayStation Store. Clearly, moving them on an HDD is the faster option than re-downloading, but it is an option available to you. Just a few other things for tidying up here is I'm going to keep things like YouTube, Netflix, Crackle. These types of things will stay on my PS4. They're applications. Again, I can recover all of them in probably better specs on the PS5. All right, and having selected some apps, some games now, I'm down to actually 96 gigs left on the console. So considerable amount here moving over. And I'm going to say, yes, please go ahead and move. Again, even the transfer between the HDD to the actual console should be quite a bit quicker than re-downloading all of those on the PS4 again. All right, now having moved that over, you can also see here, I've got my PlayStation 5 now hooked up in the back. I've moved over as much as I want to from that extended hard disk drive to the internal on the PS4. You can see that I have very little data left on the 500 gig console itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to power this unit down. I'm not going to go ahead here and put it in rest mode. I'm going to make sure that this is off. Close all applications, and I'm going to shut this right down. I don't want any power going to that hard disk drive when I unplug it. Okay, that hard disk drive is off. I'm going to unplug it directly from the PS4 console. And now again, it's a 3.0. I'm going to plug this directly into the back of the PlayStation 5. I'm going to scroll all the way across. I'm going to go to Games Library. And now it's showing what's on the console itself. So like I said, I had installed some games here. But I'm going to go here to My Collection. And here's where I can see all the games that I have. And in fact, these ones, Rec Room, Tetris Effect, these all show installed. And it shows the little USB attachment. So it worked. Everything brought over from the PS4 to the PS5. It recognizes my library. I can go ahead, throw a disc in and start playing. Hook up my PSVR and get going. Anything like this that didn't come across, such as Infamous Second Son, I can go ahead and just install it. While we're talking games, I do have a couple PS5 titles like Returnal, Hitman 3, and Final Fantasy 16. It was going through my titles that I found I had more PlayStation 5 games. Spider-Man Miles Morales actually says down here, PS5 Upgrade Available. When I put the disc in the console, it prompted me to say, do you want to download the PlayStation 5 version? Of course I did. I want you to take note of this because this absolutely blew my mind. Pretty much every console, when you insert it, of course, it's upwards. When it's vertical, it's towards what you'd think is the top of the console. I assume the top was this side of the console because generally when you flip it up, you wouldn't think that this would go in this way if it was flat, but I guess you would. I don't know. It's the shape of it completely threw me off. So the first time I put in a disc, I had it going in this way, shiny side towards the USBs. That's incorrect. It's actually this way, face up. I know I'm not alone on that. I saw a lot of other comments on other videos saying the same, so thankfully, but if you want to go ahead and beat me up for that one, by all means, sound off in the comments below. One thing to note here, when I put that disc in, it automatically prompts me to play the PS4 version of Spider-Man Miles Morales. It's a PS4 disc. However, why? Why would I play that when I can get all the better frame rates, better resolutions, etc. from the PS5 edition of the game? So because I've already loaded this, I can actually go over to my games catalog here, and there it is, load up the PlayStation 5 version of it. This is basically a digital download, so it takes quite a bit of space on your internal SSD, but it does require the disc in order to run it, the PlayStation 4 disc. Because I have two copies of the same game, I'm probably going to go ahead and blow away that PlayStation 4 version from the external hard disk drive. I found a couple different sites that had more games listed. For example, No Man's Sky. This was a PlayStation 4 game that actually had the VR, but it also gives you the free PlayStation 5 version if you have the disc. Again, awesome. Why wouldn't you? However, if you want to play the VR, you have to retain the PS4 copy. For that reason, I will keep that on the SSD and a PS5 version if I just want to play the updated graphics, etc. of the PS5 version. The Persistence is a PSVR game. It's a straight up, it's required. However, they did come out with an enhanced version of the game. So I plugged in the disc, downloaded it, and now I can actually play it as just your standard first-person game running around. However, if I want to, I can play the VR version as well. Resident Evil 7. Again, bought it because it's a PS4 game, supports VR, has some side missions, and plug that one in, you're going to get the PS5 edition as well. Finally, God of War here. This is not an enhanced version per se. You don't get a PlayStation 5 remaster. However, check this out. When I go to God of War, I've installed it off the disc and run all the upgrades. This is one here where if you go to update history, you'll see that it actually added new versions to it. Enhanced performance mode for PS5. So this actually gives you things like better frame rates, which is awesome. Again, it's going to be the most optimized way to play this game, and that's here on the PlayStation 5 console. All right, now actually a little bit of a time lapse has gone on here, but I wanted to show you that these games here, all the ones that were digital that I had programmed to download, I set to download, put the console to rest mode, let it run overnight. I encountered a handful of these titles here all saying paused. And when I kept trying to go ahead and unpause them, nothing's happening. Well, I found out quickly that it's because they actually want to download the remainder from the disk. I'm not sure why that is, to tell you the truth, because these actually have already uploaded on the PS4, but maybe it wants more for the PS5 just for smoother gameplay. Whatever it is, let's do it, because hey, we want the most optimized experience here. So for example here, Star Wars Squadrons, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take the game, have the disc here, and pop it into the console. You can hear it whirring, and there it goes. Not sure if you're picking up the disc spinning in the console, but it's running, and there's 4 minutes left. It's just going to take that extra little bit. But from what I've heard, that's one that sees some big time PSVR improvements playing on a PS5. If you are aware or you weren't aware, with the PlayStation 5, you automatically get this game, Astro's Playroom. If you're unfamiliar with Astro, Astrobot originally was a PlayStation VR game. He now got a PlayStation 5 adventure. It's not VR, it's a platforming game. However, it's a beautiful game. You go through a lot of PlayStation's history. Trust me, when you get any PlayStation 5, either the Slim or the original model, you're going to want to check it out. It's basically a good tech demo for the PlayStation controller, and it's going to show you all that dual sense vibration, the adaptive triggers, etc. So it's fantastic. One thing about it, it does use the microphone, and we're going to talk about that. One thing I've seen a lot of people mention is, if I jump right into Fortnite right now, this mic on here is live. That's by default. That's Sony just having it prepared for you. You can turn it off by pushing this yellow button here, and now it's going to say that the mic is off just by pushing the controller here. When it's yellow, off. When it's not yellow, it's on. But every time you turn this on, that's going to be on. To change that permanently, we're going to go up to System Settings. We're going to go down to Sound. We're going to go to Microphone. We're going to go to Microphone Status when logged in. We're going to change this down to Mute. To confirm, I legit just turned my console off, turned it back on. You can see it went right back to Spider-Man because the disc is currently in at this time. And the console controller started glowing yellow as soon as I turned it on, turning that microphone off. You're probably going to want to do that. To set up this USB hub, inside is the device. This one isn't powered, but I don't believe that's going to be an issue here. If it is, I'll report back. Plain and simple, I'm going to plug this end in. Again, you know it's going to be super speed USB 3.0 when it's colored blue. Same as the back of the console. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this directly in. Of course, you never get it right the first time still, do you? I'm going to plug this directly into the back of the console, and what once was 1 port is now 4. Again, I'm going to put my hard disk drive directly into the back of the console here. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug the PS4 camera as well as the PS4 PSVR into this as well. If you've been following around the channel for quite a long time now, you may remember seeing this. I did a video on it way back when, basically to remind you that this was a thing. In order to hook up your PlayStation VR, PSVR 1, you need to actually go to Sony's site and register your device. It'll give you this. This is the PlayStation Camera Adapter. This adapter is very simply this device here. It's got a super speed USB 3.0 on the one end. Again, this is going to go into my hub. And then here on this end here, you can see the PlayStation logo. You have what's kind of a proprietary plug, and that's going to connect right to the VR. So you got to put your VR into this and then into your PS5. You can't just plug it in natively. You need to get this. Thankfully, they've made this free, so just log on. I'll put a link to this in the description below. And if you want to see how to register for one, I did a video on that. I'll put that as well. And to prove that I've clearly never done this before, this is not actually for your VR headset. Actually, my apologies, this is for the camera. It's the camera that has the port here. This is how you're going to connect the PSVR camera to your PS5. So first and foremost, I have, as shown, this expander, and plug that into one of the ports here. From the back of the PS4, I'm going to unplug that camera. See if you can see up here. I have the camera up here above my television, but the cabling, of course, went down behind to the PS4. So I'm going to run that into the 5. I'm going to show you up close, but this is from the camera. And again, it has that kind of proprietary adapter. That's what's got a plug, male to female, in here, which then connects via USB 3.0. And that's going to connect into the back of the console, or in my case, like I said, in the adapter. So basically, it's perfect size. It says Sony on the bottom, but it's got the PlayStation app and the PlayStation logo. So that's the way it's going to go in order to marry together. I'm going to do this through the back here of my unit and into the console. It's going to get a little shaky here, so bear with me for a second. But in order to double check that that camera is now connected properly, again, the camera is up here on my shelf above the television. I'm going to go here into settings, accessories, other accessories, and down to camera. Now remember, the PlayStation 5 has its HD camera. The PlayStation camera is what we just connected. I'm going to go to adjust PlayStation camera. This is just going to take an overview of the room, but when I click OK here, yeah, I got a lot of stuff on my couch here to put away. But you can see that it is working. It's currently functioning. Hi, everybody. So I know that it's working. I just did the adjustment. I'm not going to go through the procedure again, but I know that the camera is working, and that's one way to test it. Back over here again, I'm going to actually go ahead and plug my PSVR set into my PS5. In this case, I had it connected to the front of the PS4. So this cable here is going to go into my hub again. I turned the PSVR on. You can barely see a little blue glow coming out of the back of it up here. But that came on, made a beep. That made this television prompt. You can see the blue glow of the VR up there. But it prompted on here. If I'm going to want, of course, to get playback on the television, I got to connect the PS5 to the box and then through. So that part of it was still connected to the PS4, so I'm going to have to go ahead and move those HDMI cables over. All right, and having the console now hooked up again, rewired through the PS5. It's with the VR. It's going to make me prompt again to fill the circles. Let's begin setting up your VR. So the VR is now hooked up to the PS5. For now, those are my observances with the PlayStation 5. What I thought, obviously, it's a fantastic device. Everybody loves it. I don't know a lot of people that are just getting rid of them. I did buy mine secondhand, I'll tell you that much, but I bought it off a friend for a very specific reason. But otherwise, like I said, it's a great console. I'm very impressed with it. The kids are very impressed with it. Looking forward to playing some more PlayStation 5 games, some PlayStation 4 classics. And to tell you the honest truth, I'm going from a stock PlayStation 4, not a Pro, on that VR system. So I can't wait to try some of the games with their updates on the PSVR. I've heard things like Blood and Truth, Star Wars Squadrons just run fantastically on a PlayStation 5. I want to give a quick shout out to a couple other YouTube channels that helped me along my PlayStation 5 journey, like Mystic, Spawn Point, C-Kid, and Push Square. Let me know in the comments below what you think some of your favorite PlayStation 5 tips are, and what do you think I should start playing next. I appreciate everyone that likes, subscribes, shares this video, and leaves me a comment below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, because I really appreciate hearing from everyone. Until I see you guys again soon, please take care. Be good to each other. Bye now.